ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नमः। Hari Om, salutations to all. So we were seeing the portion of the Chatushloki Bhagavat. It is said that if one cannot, and definitely one will not be able to chant all the 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam every day, but one should memorize and chant these 4 verses. So second chapter, discourse 9, from verse 32 to 35. These are the 4 verses which are the root, or which we can say is the essence of the entire Bhagavatam. The objective of Bhagavatam is this knowledge. And so this second chapter is about sadhana. First chapter was about Adhikari Skanda. It was about the qualified student. Parikshit Maharaj was that qualified student. And this chapter we are seeing different sadhanas have been spoken about. The essence of sadhana is knowledge of the self. And so Brahmaji had asked these questions to Bhagwan, that he wanted to know how does the Lord create, sustain, destroy the universe. He had given the analogy of the spider also. And then he also said that I should not have the ego. I should not forget that even I have a limited span, and I should not get the ego of being the creator. Hence, he said that please give me this knowledge. So Bhagwan started, and we saw 32 and 33. In 32, Bhagwan said, Aham evasam evagre nanyad yat sadasat param. He said, I alone was and I am in the beginning. Na anyat, there was nothing else. No space, no time, no causality, no duality, nothing. The absolute truth alone was beyond Sat and Asat. Sat means gross here, whatever is perceptible. So the body, mind, intellect, which is manifest. So gross and manifest, these are 2 meanings of Sat. So whatever is gross, whatever is manifest, and Asat here is what is subtle. Subtle here doesn't mean the subtle body or the mind, intellect, etc. Subtle here means the unmanifest, so the vasanas, as far as the individual is concerned. Same thing you apply in the world outside. Ishvara Tattva is avyakta, subtle. Hiranyagarbha, Virat, and this whole universe is the vyakta, is the manifest. This absolute truth is beyond that. So he says, I alone am, I alone was, before anything. Na anyat yat sadasat param. Paschadaham yadetascha. And even after this whole creation is, dissolved, I alone remain. Yo avashishyeta so asmiyaham. What remains changeless, or what remains non-negatable in all 3 periods of time, he says, that alone I am. What does that mean? That the creation is mithya. It is only Nama and Rupa. So when Brahmaji asked the question, Brahmaji's question is not about how do you proceed to do the creation and tell me the act of creation. Brahmaji's question is actually this knowledge. He wants to know, which Bhagavan is saying that there is only one absolute truth and that alone is real. Everything else is unreal. Knowing this, a person remains free from the ego. Knowing this, a person comes to know oneself, that my true nature is one with the Lord. So Brahmaji gets this knowledge, Brahma Vidya, from Narayan Bhagavan. The process of creation, etc., is not what he really wants to know, because he himself is the creator also in that sense. But what he wants to know is this knowledge. So if Bhagavan alone is, was, is and will be, then why is this plurality appearing? So the second verse spoke about Maya. Ritertham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadatmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. So he goes on to explain about the Maya part. That also we had seen. That's where we had stopped last time. That what is not but which appears to be. That's the meaning of the word Maya. Rite artham yat pratiyeta. So that which is not but which still appears to be, that inexplicable power of the Lord is this Maya. And he gives the example, Yatha abhaso yatha tamaha. Like the double moon is perceived. And also we saw this tamaha here means the Rahu. So how this Rahu, as though eats up the sun. Though it is not a real planet, Rahu is not an entity, it's a shadow, no? Because the moon and the sun, the arrangement of moon and sun during the eclipse is in such a way that it appears as though another planet is eating away the Lord, eating away the Surya. But there is no such other planet, it only appears like that. It's just a shadow play. So in the same way here it is, Maya of the Lord is like that. It's not a real entity. So please remember, the Maya itself is a projection. What the world is a projection of projection. If one wants to say it in that sense. Because when he says Atmano Mayam, Yad Vidyad Atmano Mayam, it is the power of the Lord which is making the Lord appear, the one changeless Lord appear as the changing, the non-dual appear as the dual. To explain for us why this is happening, Maya is one intermediate reason that is given. The power of Maya makes this happen. But really speaking, Maya is itself a projection. It is not real at all. Because the meaning itself means that what is not, ya ma sa Maya, what is not, by itself it doesn't exist. It's the power of the Lord, and it is meant to be an explanation for us who think creation is real. So if Maya itself, by itself, it is only a projection, then whatever Maya projects also is a projection only. It can't be real. Like the dreamer, the dreamer is projecting the whole dream world. The power of dreaming is there in the waker. This power of dreaming is the inherent power of the waker. That example has that limitation that yes, it appears that the dream world was really created and then we actually woke up from the dream. That's the limitation of the example. The waker is always there and waker alone is, nothing has happened. No dream world also actually, from the standpoint of Bhagavan and the creation. So that one Lord alone who is Why is he appearing as so many? Because of the power of Maya. And then how does that Maya do this creation? So 5 elements come out from this Maya. So the third line now, which is the 34th shloka. Yatha mahanti bhutani bhuteshu cha vacheshvanu pravishtanya pravishtani tatha teshu nateshvaham. So yatha mahanti bhutani. Mahanti bhutani means the 5 great elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. Bhuteshu cha avacheshvanu. They have as though entered and yet not entered. Meaning, see, the material cause, without this material cause, this thing will not exist. Like the pot, the material cause of the pot is the mud. Now, from one standpoint, we can say that the mud has entered the pot. Because without mud, pot cannot be. And mud pervades this whole pot. So the material cause of this world is Maya, is the 5 elements, Maya. And this material cause as though pervades this whole world. But it does not pervade also. Why it does not pervade? Because there is nothing called pot. It is only mud. This material cause is what we are calling. So we say this book, this towel, this phone. These 5 elements only. The name, the book is only a name of the 5 elements to distinguish it from the towel, from the phone, from the computer, is only name. But by itself it is only 5 elements. So in that sense it has not entered. Because without it there is nothing else. Pot does not exist. So there is no question of this mud entering the pot because mud alone exists. There is no pot. Now see, this example here is applied at the material cause level itself. And Bhagavan says just like that, pravishtani apravishtani yat tatha teshuna teshvaham. In that same way, I pervade this whole world and I alone am there in this, and yet I am not there in this. Na teshu aham. So it is easy to understand from material standpoint. The same thing which we speak about consciousness is now applied at the matter standpoint. That everything is pervaded by these 5 elements, and yet it is not pervaded by 5 elements. Why? Because the thing does not exist independent of the 5 elements. There is nothing else. There is only one. So we are able to understand that more easily because it's tangible, it's gross, perceptible. That has to be used for realizing the truth. So though the third line is about the world, this is not about, we may want to bring about the theory of creation in this context. If one wants to know about that, then one says, okay, from 5 elements, how did the 5 elements become all this? So that if you say is an indication, bhuteshu cha avacheshvanu. So it has entered. Now it has entered, so that word can be used to explain the whole theory of creation. 5 elements in their pure form, and the Maya is of the nature of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So 5 elements also have Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Sattvic aspect of each element gives rise to 5 senses of knowledge. Collective Sattvic aspect of all the 5 elements gives rise to mind, intellect, memory, ego. Rajasic aspect, each one gives rise to 5 senses of action. And collectively, they give rise to 5 pranas. Tamasic aspect go through modification, go through mixture. The Panchikarana process happens in the tamasic aspect of 5 elements. and those are grossified 5 elements now, which have mixed with each other. Those grossified 5 elements make this body and this universe. So in this way, the 5 elements have entered the universe. So that word can be used to indicate, but the objective of this is not that. The objective of this is to say that actually it has not entered, because apart from 5 elements, there is nothing else. So there is no world separate. So the illusoriness of the world that we see is proved here even from matter standpoint, not only from consciousness standpoint. Even from matter standpoint, it is matter. It is not. So pot is not pot. Pot is mud. I am calling mud as pot, another piece of mud as pitcher, third piece of mud as cup. They all are mud only. There is nothing called pot, pitcher, cup. No, Swamiji, pot, pitcher, cup exist. They have utility value. That is in our head. From material standpoint, it is only mud. Just because something has a utility value doesn't mean it is real. That our problem is there. Because we think something is visible is real. So all this is visible, so it has to be real. Now pot is visible, but there is nothing called pot. Mud only exists. If you look at the mud and then call it pot and forget that it is mud, that is our problem. Problem is not looking at the pot. Problem is forgetting it is mud and thinking it is pot without the mud. So just because something is visible doesn't mean it is real. Pot is illusory. Pot doesn't exist. Mud alone exists. Same way, the utility value. Just because something has a utility value, it doesn't mean that also is real. The example given for that is in the dream. You see, somebody goes to sleep and dreams. Now one went to sleep hungry. In the dream, one enjoyed some 7-course meal. So in the dream, one enjoyed, it was very real, and one was licking the fingers also, and it was so amazing and whatever it is. But when one gets up, one is still hungry only. So just because it has a utility value doesn't mean it is real. In the same way, in this world, when we see so many things, they have a utility value. That pot and cup and pitcher, they have a utility value, but doesn't mean it is real. Mud is real, that's all. We forget the reality and then get stuck with name and form. That is problem. That's why the name and form is illusory. And from Atma standpoint, then even the material cause becomes illusory. Here the material cause has been used to prove that name and form is illusory. That's why it says that these 5 elements entered as though, and yet they have not entered. Because there is no question of entering. If there is a pot separate, then the mud can enter. There is no pot only, mud only is, that's all. In a particular shape. And hence from material standpoint also, creation is illusion. Absolute standpoint, though, definitely it is an illusion. Why? Because this creation keeps on changing. Matter keeps changing. And absolute truth is the changeless one. So this analogy is used to point the consciousness to us. Pravishtani, apravishtani. It has entered and still not entered. Tatha teshu na teshvaham. In that same way, I am in them and I am not in them. Meaning Bhagavan pervades this whole universe. He says in the 9th chapter, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. He pervades the whole universe in the unmanifest form. Because it is not manifest, tangible to us. In the physical, mental, intellectual way, Bhagavan is not perceptible to us. But he pervades, because without that presence of consciousness, matter also will not function. So the whole universe he pervades through the unmanifest form. The example given always is the butter pervades the milk in its unmanifest form. So one says that yes, Bhagavan pervades, so everything is in the Lord. Like butter is in the milk. But here they are not in him. Tatha teshu na teshu aham. This is what Gurudev used to call as relationless relationship. They are in me, I am not in them. This is possible not in cause and effect relationship. This is possible in a superimposition and substratum relationship. So this butter and milk example is cause and effect. Milk is the cause, butter is the effect. So that same example you cannot take in the next because the level changes. The butter example is given because butter is unmanifest in the milk and it pervades the milk completely. It's not in one part of the milk. It is there everywhere in the milk. Then through sadhana process, that churning has to happen. Then that butter comes out. Same way through the sadhana process, the mind gets churned and then the knowledge of the reality arises. Then as though one has come to wake up, awaken to the truth. So it is to indicate these two aspects that Bhagavan alone pervades this whole universe, which means Bhagavan only is here, there is nothing else. But I am not seeing right now because I have Jiva Bhav, so we say Bhagavan is unmanifest. The fact is Bhagavan is manifest, really speaking. This I doesn't exist. But today it is opposite. This I is real and Bhagavan is not there. So what has to be done? Churn. That is the next process, that the next shloka will come is sadhana. I will come to it that time. So this first aspect is when he says Bhagavan pervades the whole universe in the unmanifest form. That's why he says tatha teshu, just like the material cause pervades the entire effect, the pot and the cup and the pitcher. The material cause pervades. In the same way, the main intelligent cause of the universe is the Lord who pervades this whole universe. And just like there is nothing else except the material cause, the effect has no existence. In the same way, there is no existence of anything else in that Supreme Lord. So that alone is. That's why he says, na teshu aham. So this na teshu aham, I am not in them, is to say that in the substratum, there is no superimposition. From superimposition standpoint, we can say that the substratum pervades the whole superimposition in an unmanifest form. Like the rope pervades the whole snake in the unmanifest form. And through sadhana, you can see the rope and then this vision of snake disappears. But from rope standpoint, there is no snake in it. There never was, is, will be any snake. So that's why na teshu aham. So in the same shloka, creation also is explained. Illusoriness of creation also is explained. And the destruction of that also is explained. Destruction in the sense, the right vision when we have, it just disappears. Like the superimposition disappears when we know the substratum. The world by itself disappears when we come to wake up to the absolute truth. Because that alone really exists. That's why he says aham eva asam eva agre. Actually, that one word is description of all this. So now if you see, last time I had told you, the 18,000 verses, the essence of 18,000 verses is these 4 verses. Essence of these 4 verses is the first verse. Essence of the first verse is aham eva asam eva agre. That much. Even if you don't want that much, you just say aham eva. That's it. Nothing more than that. Why? Because I has to exist. Without this I, nothing else exists. And I alone exists actually. So aham eva. So in two words, if you want to explain the essence of 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam, what are those two words? Aham eva. I alone am. English 3 words. I alone am. Or you can just say I am. The essence of Bhagavatam, essence of all Upanishad, when he says Tat Tvam Asi, is this only. Aham eva. So, Tatha Teshu na Teshu Aham. I am pervading the whole universe and yet I am not pervading. Which means from sadhana standpoint, these are two ways to do. Which is what the next line says. The two types of sadhana is called Anvaya and Vyatireka. So that is verse 35. Etavadeva jignasyam tattva jignyasunatmanaha अन्वय व्यतिरेकाभ्याम यत्स्यात् सर्वत्र सर्वदा एतावदेव जिज्ञास्यम एतावद एव this alone is worth knowing जिज्ञास्यम by whom तत्व जिज्ञासुना the one who wants to know the truth Tattva Jignasun Atmanaha, one who wants to know the truth. This alone is to be known, or it is worth knowing, or it ought to be known. How to know this then? Anvaya Vyatireka Abhyam. This is the process. Anvaya and Vyatireka. Including, excluding. Simple meaning. I'll come to the detail. Yat Syat Sarvatra Sarvada. What is everywhere at all times can be known, which is the Atma, that can be known through Anvaya and Vyatireka. So first part of it says this Etavadeva Jignasyam. This is the only thing worth knowing and that one ought to know. Till one realizes this oneness. The Jignasa must culminate in this knowledge of oneness. Etavadeva Jignasyam. So Etavadeva Jignasyam. In the world we have Jignasa for so many other things. The Jignasa for this truth sometimes is somewhere behind. I am more curious to know many other things. It may be natural at some point, but what he says, Tattva Jignasuna, the one who really wants to know the essence, who has seen enough in life and who says, but this is all changing and this is not giving the permanent happiness. Then one who wants to know what will give that permanent happiness, this is the one thing which one ought to know. Knowing this, everything else becomes known. Knowing this, all emptiness, incompleteness goes away. And so one should know this. Etavadeva Jignasyam. So one should ask oneself, by the study of the Bhagavatam, did my Jignasa to know the truth increase or not? Or my Bhavana to realize oneness with Bhagavan, did that increase or not? So those things one has to ask. Tattva Jignasu. Do I look at myself as a Tattva Jignasu or not? If I look at myself primarily as a Tattva Jignasu, then this will happen. So all my experiences of life will lead me to deepen my Jignasa about the Lord. All my actions I do will be dedicated to the Lord. So many saints, they lived like that. The whole mind absorbed in the Lord. Mayeva mana adhasva mayi buddhim niveshaya. Because they looked at themselves as bhakta. And their goal was to realize Bhagavan. So that's why Etavadeva Jignasyam Tattva Jignasuna. So who am I? From absolute standpoint, I am Brahman. That is no doubt. But I don't know that yet. Intellectually, I may have come to know about it. But in the feeling, the Dehatma Bhav is still strong. and I still feel the other roles are more important. Nothing wrong in doing any of the duties in the roles, but what do I look upon myself as? What is my primary identity? If my primary identity is I am a Tattva Jignasu, then the Jignasa will keep increasing. One will do all actions also dedicated to Bhagwan. So Tattva Jignasuna Atmanaha. Atmanaha Tattva. That also is clarified, because Tattva can mean essence. So it can be essence of anything. Essence of any subject, it can be essence of any place, it can be essence of any achievement, it can be, yes, no, Atmanaha, of the self. Tattva Jignasur Atmanaha, this is what has to be known. So in this also it is indicated oneness of the self and Brahman. That Brahman which alone is, whose power is Maya, which has created this whole universe. The Atma is one with that Brahman. So Atmanaha. So Etavadeva Jignasyam Tattva Jignasuna Atmanaha. Now how to know this? Anvaya Vyatireka Abhyam. So now this is the process. Anvaya and Vyatireka. Two ways one can understand this. So when the mud pervades this pot, that is called the Anvaya. So mud is, pot is. But if the pot is destroyed, mud is not destroyed. That is called Vyatireka. The pot, Vyatireka of the pot. Pot is gone, but mud still remains. So what is that Anvaya? What is that which pervades this whole universe? And what is that which remains even after the universe? That is the ultimate cause. So even when the universe is destroyed, Brahman remains. So that is the reality. When the effect is there, cause is there. When the effect is not there, also cause is there. So that cause is the reality, not the effect. Effect is illusory. It is called Anvaya Vyatireka. Vivek. One is doing. One is separating. Because we think the opposite right now. We think the world is real and God is absent. But it is the other way. What is that without which that thing will not exist? What is that pot? What is that in the pot without which the pot doesn't exist? That is mud. Can the mud exist without the pot? Yes. Can the pot exist without the mud? No. So what is real? Mud. This is called logic. In that sense, Vedanta is not very difficult. It's very simple logic. Cause and effect. Logic of cause and effect. Logic itself is called cause and effect actually. So if the cause is there, if the effect is there, that means cause is there. If the effect is not there, also cause is there. But without the cause, effect cannot exist. So effect depends on the cause. So it is illusory. Cause does not depend on the effect. It is real. Now this we have to apply to the world. Brahman exists without the world because it was said aham eva asam eva agre. Before the world Brahman was, then it is said here that Brahman alone is appearing as this whole world. And it was said na teshu aham, when the whole world goes back in that absolute state, when realization happens, the world disappears. Even then Brahman alone exists. So Anvaya of Brahman and Vyatireka of the world happens. Through that one comes to know Brahman is a reality. So this is one way to ascertain. Same thing we apply in our individual also. What we applied in the macrocosm, we apply in the microcosm also. This waking, dream, deep sleep, these are three states. They come and they go. But Atma is that which remains even when all these three states are not there. That is a Turiya Avastha. So these three states depend on the Atma. Atma is independent of these three states. So these three states are illusory, Atma is real. So the Sakshi in me, Aham, the pure I, is real. The small I and the rest of the things that it goes through is all illusory. Because it doesn't exist by itself. It has only borrowed existence of the real I. Without the real I, this small I doesn't exist. But without the small I, real I exists. How do we know? In deep sleep. Small I is not there, but I still am. Samadhi. Deep sleep there is ignorance. Samadhi there is knowledge. That the small I is not there, but I am. So that means that I am will never become I am not. So that is constantly there. Aham, 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 all the time is there. So that aham alone is real. Individually also this aham is real, and that aham is that Brahman. No difference, because Atmana was said earlier. So this process of discrimination and then living according to that. So that is most important. See, logically one has concluded very easily. So what? That is not a big deal at all. Logically easy to conclude. Mud alone is real, pot is illusory. So body, mind, intellect are illusory, ego is illusory, real I is real. Real I is real. No, I is real. World is illusory, Brahman is real. Wonderful. Vedanta over. But now how to live? The Anvaya Vyatireka is not an informative process or just some intellectual process. Anvaya Vyatireka is to be applied in the life where I live in the world with the bhav that this is illusory. Deep down, I know that the world is illusory, this small I is illusory. So whatever this small I is going through in the world also is illusory. All the duties, all the roles, everything is illusory. Like the actor knows pretty well that I am not this role at all. Anchored in that knowledge that I am the actor and this is a role, the illusoriness of the role is very clear to the actor. Sometimes when that illusoriness is not clear and the actor and the role, they become one, that actor has a problem. They do the psychological treatment for that actor. Because sometimes to live that role, the actor has to put oneself fully into that role, that to come out of that sometimes become difficult. They get so identified with that role. Then they are given certain processes and certain things one has to do to detach. Otherwise one loses the track of who one really is. So the actor who knows that this is completely illusory, that is the application of Anvaya and Vyatireka. Does it mean we will not do the duty? No, we will do the duties. We will still live in the world, do what needs to be done, but the equanimity comes. The attitude of Sakshi can also come because of the understanding this is illusory. Because as long as I think it is real, my whole attention is on that, to change that, to modify that, to make that conducive to my experience. Whole life goes in that only. Trying to change things, trying to change people, trying to make everything conducive so that then I will be happy. Sometimes one is able to make it also, but it doesn't last. Again, one starts putting all that effort, everything must be perfect. Then I will be happy. How long it will stay? It will just go again. Because I think it is real, so then I'm trying to make. Children, when they make this pot, when they make, on the beach, they make this mud house, the sand. With the sand, they will make the house, and then the garden, and then the, the school, and then the city, and everything they will make. They have fun doing all that. And when they have to go, they will only trample upon the whole thing. They know it's illusory. It's not real. This world is like that. We may do our duties because it is a means to purify the mind. The more I purify the mind, more I will abide in the knowledge that this is illusory and Bhagavan alone is real. And more I abide in that knowledge, more I will be detached from my work and the duties, etc. Where one doesn't take it to heart at all. One leaves it with the role, saying it is about the role, it is not I. I is completely detached from it. How much peace occurs when we learn to detach like that. I am not this at all. So much agitation because this I is so real to us, small I. So Anvaya and Vyatireka means drop that attachment to the world, having understood that that is illusory, Sachidananda Swarup Atma alone is real, and there is no other thing except that Brahman. Call it Brahman, call it Bhagavan, same. For the Bhakta, Bhagavan alone is real. There is nothing else. Maya is also not real for Bhakta. In the Buddhi, that Bhakta has that firm conviction that Bhagavan alone is real. And even if one sees Maya, one is seeing Maya as Bhagavan's Maya. So the bhav is of Bhagavan, not of Maya. The reality is given to Bhagavan, not to Maya. So this is one way, which is the way of logic to see what is the independent cause. Through Anvaya and Vyatireka, one will come to know that. The other way of doing Anvaya and Vyatireka is, so what I just told you is a process where both are required. Anvaya and Vyatireka both have to be done. The Anvaya of the mud and the Vyatireka of the pot, they go simultaneously to understand that mud alone is real. Only one will not help. Mud pervades this whole thing. In that the understanding could be that pot also exists, mud also exists. But when we say no, when pot is destroyed, mud exists. That means mud alone was, pot was illusory. So the Vyatireka of the pot helps to understand that the pot never existed actually, mud alone was. And mud is what is the reality. So this goes together. Anvaya and Vyatireka goes together. Now the other way to apply Anvaya and Vyatireka is what? Anvaya means all this is Bhagavan alone. Because Bhagavan said, I pervade this whole universe. In the second shloka he says, Tadvidyad Atmano Mayam Yatha Bhaso Yatha Tamaha. He alone is pervading all this. Because of his Maya, it appears, one appears as many. So when I live in the world, I can live with these two attitudes. Attitude of Anvaya or Vyatireka. So attitude of Anvaya means I consider everything as divine. All this is pervaded only by Bhagavan. There is nothing else except Bhagavan. Like all the waves are nothing but water. So the vision is on the water, on the truth, Bhagavan. So one worships everything as divine. There is nothing undivine. There is nobody to be rejected. There is nobody to be ill-treated. Everyone is divine. In a role, if I have to punish somebody also, I may do, but deep down I know it is Bhagavan only I am serving. There is no dvesha inside. So no raga and no dvesha. Why? Because bhakti is there. Bhagavan alone is all this. I am doing seva of that Bhagavan. So that is a bhavana of Anvaya. Because Bhagavan alone pervades this whole universe. What else is except Bhagavan? So many saints have lived in that bhav. From the smallest ant to Brahmaji, everything is pervaded by the divine. So that Lord is not somebody sitting up in Vaikuntha or somebody who is just in the Ishta, Murti of the Ishta Devata. The Lord is all this. Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhrit Deva Pujanam. So one worships Jagata Ishadhi. This whole universe is seen as the expression or the appearance of Bhagwan. That is called Anvay, Bhakti path. Or come to Jnana path, which is Vyatireka, saying this whole thing is illusory, it doesn't exist at all. Sat Chit Anand alone is real. So learn to withdraw the senses, contemplate on the absolute truth, that Brahman alone is real. Use the pointers. Then how to live while you are not in contemplation? Live with Sakshi Bhav. This comes and goes, I am the Sakshi. So this is a path of Jnana, that is called Vyatireka. So both, see, either one can be practiced or at different points in time in the, when the mind is finding it easy, one can live in the attitude that all this is illusory. Sometimes the mind finds it very difficult to accept and it is disturbed and all that. Then you say, all this is Bhagwan, I start chanting name of Bhagwan. So it is possible to mix both these also, or practice it at different times, or choose any one and get established in that. It all depends on one's sadhana, which one chooses. So this fourth line is about the sadhana of how to realize this aham eva asam is through this process, Anvaya and Vyatireka. So Anvaya Vyatireka abhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. What is existing everywhere at all times, meaning negating space and time also. Because what is pervading everywhere is Bhagwan. As Chaitanya Swarup Atma, Bhagwan pervades everything. Space also does not exist where Bhagwan exists. And time also does not exist where Bhagwan exists. So Anvaya of Bhagwan will do Vyatireka of the whole creation, which includes space and time. But because we are in space and time, for us it is said Sarvatra Sarvada. Everywhere Bhagwan alone exists, at all time Bhagwan alone exists. Through the process of Anvaya and Vyatireka, come to understand this. This is the sadhana that one has to practice. So this is the Chatushloki Bhagavat. And Brahmaji's question has been answered. Paravare yatha rupe janiyam tvetu arupinaha. When he had asked that question, no? Your higher form and lower form. Higher form is Brahman. Lower form is world. So now that part of the question Bhagavan has answered through this Chatushloki Bhagavat. So Brahman, Maya, Srishti, Sadhana. Chatushloki Bhagavat over. Then he says, Etan matam samatishta paramena samadhina bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu navimmuhyati karhichit. He says, Etan matam samatishta. In this knowledge, get firmly established. Paramena samadhina. By the supreme, the state of this samadhi. Bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karhachit. Then what will happen? You keep creating kalpa after kalpa, you will not get deluded. Because Brahmaji had asked that Nehamana praja sargam badhyayam yad anugrahat. I don't want to be bound by this notion of ego. How to be free from this ego. So you please help me. Bhagavan says you establish in this knowledge and then create. As many creations as you want, you create. You will not be bound. The ego will not come. One small little thing we create and we have some ego. And Brahmaji is the creator of the whole universe. And not one universe. Not one time creation. He is Brahmaji for 100 years. And his one day is 4 Mahayugas. How many times he goes on creating. No ego in any of this. So many kalpas he creates. Kalpa after kalpa goes on creating. He says you will not have ego. You may create as many creations and Bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karhichit. You will never get deluded. So this is the power of this knowledge of the self, knowledge of oneness, that ego will not arise at all. This is the most powerful knowledge. Bhagavan says that having established myself in this knowledge, Gita Jnanam Upashritya Trilokan Palayamyaham. In the Gita Mahatmyam also it comes. Krishna Bhagavan says that. Established in the knowledge of the Gita, I protect all the three worlds. Meaning the power of this knowledge is such that Ahankar will not rise. How? Because of Samadhi. This one should never forget. Paramena Samadhina is not intellectual information. Through this Anvaya and Vyatireka, ultimately one has to come to Samadhi. Bhakta who is seeing the world as Bhagavan also will come to Samadhi. Like we see Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and all these great masters, Anand Mahima, Mirabai, all of them, they look at the world and they go into Samadhi. We look at the world and we fall. We get more and more bound. Now what Gurudev used to say, fall in love and rise in love. Rise in love is actually Samadhi. Fall in love is attachment. So we fall in love. We look at somebody and then we just fall. What is there? Is a mass of bundle of flesh walking around with some skin. That's all it is. But fall. Some object is there and some fascinating thing is there. One looks at that, so nice, I must have it, and falls. What will Bhakta see? Glory of Bhagavan goes into Samadhi. We should read that book, Visions of Sri Ramakrishna. Nice book, Ramakrishna Mission brought out. Of course, Gospel of Ramakrishna, if you are reading, then that is the master book, main book. But some excerpts have been created into smaller books. Vision of Sri Ramakrishna is one such book. And it is fascinating to know what all he sees which leads into Samadhi. It's very amazing. He sees Mahendranath folding a shawl, goes into Samadhi. He looks at the crane flying in the sky against the backdrop of dark clouds, goes into Samadhi. They take him to a red light area, looking at the people there, he says, Ma, 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 goes into Samadhi. So many examples like that. How he goes into Samadhi. Listening to a song of Vivekananda, he goes into Samadhi. So what is that beautiful state? You see, the Tattva Jignasu wants to know this. Etavadeva Jignasyam. This is what has to be known. Is that Jignasa there in us? When will we reach that state? Bhagavan, please speed up the process. What am I stuck in this world doing petty little things? When this Samadhi Avastha and these higher states of consciousness, which is my true nature, is what I have to experience. Bhartrihari says that in his Vairagya Shatakam, he writes that. He says, Bhagavan, when will that time come when I will be sitting somewhere in a cave where I don't have to bother about anything in the world, not even my own body, and my mind will be absorbed in Samadhi? When will that time come? Oh Lord, please make that happen fast. He's praying to Lord Shiva. So Tattva Jignasu wants to know that please, not just informative knowledge now. My mind must become ready for it. So Bhagavan, please help me. What is preventing me from going into Samadhi right now is my Mala and my Vikshepa and my Avarana. Even Avarana goes in Samadhi, let us say, only Mala and Vikshepa, 6 impurities of the mind and wandering of the mind. Through Karma Yoga, I can reduce those impurities, and through Bhakti, Upasana, chanting name of Bhagavan, I can make the mind single pointed. That is the path. So if that path I follow, what will happen to me? Samadhi will happen. Paramena Samadhina will happen. So the Tattva Jignasu wants that. And Bhagavan also made to Brahmaji very clear that you must experience that state of Samadhi. It is not that, just by informative knowledge this will happen. He says, no, paramena samadhina. Then bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karhichit. And you will not get deluded. So this ends the Chatushloki Bhagavat portion as well as the answer to Brahmaji's questions. Now Shukdev ji is telling this to Parikshit Raja. Don't forget the chain of thought. Parikshit Raja had asked Shukdev ji a lot of questions. Shukdev ji said, what knowledge Brahma ji got from Bhagwan Narayana, that knowledge I am going to give you. So the episode was narrated. Now Shukdev ji again continues here that what happened, having instructed Brahma ji in this way, Bhagwan disappeared. Shri Shuka uvacha sampradishyaiva majano jananam parameshtinam pasyatastasya tad rupam atmano nyarunadharihi. So Bhagwan instructed Brahmaji and that supreme unborn Lord, what he did? He withdrew his form, meaning he became unmanifest. Brahmaji was seeing that. Rupam atmano nyarunad, meaning he withdrew the form. Then what happened? Brahmaji is bowing down. He is full of gratitude to that Lord. And he engaged in his duty of creating. So, antarhitendriyarthaya haraye vihatanjalihi sarvabhutamayo vishwam sasarjedam sapurvavat. Like how he has created in his earlier cycles of creation, in that way he started creating again. So it is not that he did not have knowledge of how to create, what to create. He wanted knowledge of Brahma Vidya, through which he will create again. Now one may ask, does this happen in every cycle? Maybe. Possible, because every cycle of creation, if Brahmaji is rooted in this Brahma Vidya and then the creation happens, then there is no ego that I created. Or it is possible that once this knowledge he has, is established in that, then no need to create again and again, no need to repeat this process again and again. Because why Bhagavan has to manifest so many times? If Brahmaji is already established in that. So it depends. How to know? Go into Samadhi, meet Brahmaji, find out. There is no other method. We may read some information here and there, but realization is realization. That only solves all questions, end only in that. So now he started creating the whole universes as before. And then what happened? Narad ji came to him. So tam narada priyatamo riktha danam anuvrataha shushrushamanaha shilena prashrayena damena cha. So it is also said here that Brahmaji, he started the creation, but Brahmaji also lived in tapas. The earlier shloka actually says that. Prajapatir dharmapatihi ekada niyaman yaman. He was living, following all the yama niyama. Bhadram prajanam anvichan atishtat swartha kamyaya. So what is he doing? He is practicing different types of yama, niyama, etc. And all the austerities he is doing for what? You know what Bhagavan told him? Paramena samadhina. To experience that samadhi avastha is what he is practicing this. Swartha kamyaya means that. Not swartha here doesn't mean selfishness. Swartha here means the object of his seeking, to fulfill that. Meaning he wants to experience the absolute. So he is living in that state of tapasya. Now all this is also for us. See, knowing well that Bhagwan only is the source, Bhagwan only is everything in this universe, we can do our work with that attitude, like Brahmaji continued to create. So like Brahmaji is doing his duty with this knowledge, we also can do the duty in our world, do our duties in our life. At the same time, how Brahmaji is also putting time to, live in self-control to experience that samadhi sthiti. We also have to take out time and live in self-control, do the upasana. All those things have to be done so that we come to samadhi avastha. So at one such time, this Naradji comes there. Of all the children of Brahmaji, Naradji is supposed to be very dear to him. And Naradji is of course a great devotee of the Lord. He came to know about Bhagwan's Maya from Brahmaji. And he saw Brahmaji is engaged in tapasya. So he waited there. And what was he? Waiting there. So with modesty, with good conduct, with self-control, he waited there. And when Brahmaji was pleased, तुष्टम निशाम्य पितरम लोकानाम प्रपितामहम देवर्षि परिपप्रच्छ भवान यन्मानु पृच्छति. So Devarshi asked that, please tell me. So what did he ask? So he said, the sage humbly asked him the same question that you have asked me. All the questions that Parikshit Raja had asked him, Naradji also asked. Now, you see, Shukdev Maharaj is telling, he told earlier that what knowledge Brahmaji got from Vishnu Bhagwan, Narayan Bhagwan, that knowledge I will give you. Then now he says the question that you asked, Naradji also asked. Even the earlier set of questions that Parikshit Raja had asked, that time also Shukdevji said, what Naradji came to know for Brahmaji, same questions he had asked as you asked, so I am going to repeat that. Again he says that what questions you have asked is what Naradji had asked Brahmaji. So that what Brahmaji told Naradji is what I am going to tell you. Tasma idam bhagavatam puranam dasha-lakshanam proktam bhagavata praha prita putraya bhutakrit. So Brahmaji told 10 lakshanas of Bhagavatam to Naradji, which will answer all the questions of Parikshit Raja, and which is the elaboration now in each of the skandhas. You will see these 10 aspects are elaborated. What are those 10 aspects? That is said in the next discourse, 10th chapter. But the connection here is this, that Brahmaji is being told this Bhagavatam. Brahmaji is telling this Bhagavatam to Naradji. And if you remember earlier, it was that when this whole description of this Virat Purusha and everything was given, and finally Brahmaji told Naradji what? Go and spread this knowledge. That and this prasang is same. Don't confuse ki that is another prasang, this is another prasang. It is same prasang. It's just that recollection is happening here again. Shukadevji is recollecting this to Parikshit Raja. So that knowledge which Brahmaji gave to Naradji about that Virat Roop and everything, also at that time he gave this knowledge of this Dasha Lakshana, 10 features of Bhagavatam. So from Naradji, it has to pass on now, because Brahmaji told him that you have to go and share this knowledge. Proktam Bhagavata Praha Prita Putraya Bhutakrit. Narada Praha Munaye. So what did Naradji do? Naradji, to spread it, went to Vedavyasji and told him the whole Bhagavat. That also prasang we have seen earlier. Vedavyasji was feeling unfulfilled and all that. So this connection we should not forget. So Naradji, from Brahmaji, Narayan Bhagwan to Brahmaji, Chatushloki Bhagavat. Chatushloki Bhagavat expanded into Dasha Lakshana, and the rest of the Bhagavat is what Brahmaji gave to Naradji. And Naradji gave in that full form to Vyasa Maharshi. Where was Vyasa Maharshi? He was sitting on the banks of Saraswati. Munaye Saraswatya tate Saraswatyaha tate nripa dhyayate brahma paramam vyasayamita tejase. So Naradji gave it to Vedavyasji. And yadutaham tvaya prashto vairajat purushadidam yatha asit tadupakhyasye prashnan anyascha kritsnashaha. So he says here that now, so from Vedavyasji, Shukdevji had heard, and now Shukdevji is passing it on to Parikshit Raja. So he says, I will tell you this Bhagavad in reply to the questions that you have asked of how the universe emanated from the cosmic being and all the other questions, whatever you have asked, I will explain to you all that. Which is the knowledge now? What has he sourced back to? He has sourced it back to Bhagavan Narayana himself. Now this is called Guru Parampara. Brahmaji also had a guru with Narayan Bhagavan. That's why this Parampara shloka we should remember. I'm just going to share on the screen. On the Guru Purnima day also I had shared this, that this is the shloka of our Parampara of knowledge, the Guru Parampara. I will put up this shloka on the Telegram group also, so that we will remember this for our Bhagavad class. For some time we will chant these verses also, so that we will remember our whole parampara of the great masters, from where this knowledge comes, especially because we are studying Bhagavatam. So we should remember this, the parampara completely. This is our parampara. It is also there, this shloka is there in the Advaita Guru Parampara Stotram. From there it has been taken. So Narayanam is Bhagavan Narayana. Padma Bhuvam gave this knowledge to Brahmaji. Brahmaji gave it to Vasishtha Rishi. Then to Shakti. Then that is Vyasa Maharshi. Not Vyasa Maharshi, sorry. Narayanam, Padma Bhuvam, Vasishtham, Shaktim. Who is this? Is the father of Parashar Rishi. I will come back to, I am forgetting the name. So Narayan Bhagavan to Brahmaji, to Vasishtha Rishi, then to Shakti, then to Parashar Rishi, then to Vyasa Maharshi, then to Shukdev. And then Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogendra Mathasya Shishyam. So Gaudapada Rishi is the great guru, great grand guru of Shankaracharya ji. So Gaudapada Rishi and his disciple is Govinda Bhagavat Pad, his disciple is Shankaracharya ji, and his four disciples, Padmapada, Hastamalaka, Totaka and Vartikakara is Sureshwaracharya. To all of them we bow down, we prostrate. So this is the Guru Parampara. Haji, Vibhaji, you can unmute and ask.
Swamiji, will Nishedh, could Nishedh mean negation and could Anvaya mean superimposition?
No. It is not Nishedh, it is Vyatireka. The word is Anvaya Vyatireka.
Okay. Vyatireka. So it will not mean that?
No.
Negation and superimposition?
Because Anvaya and Vyatireka is the method to destroy the superimposition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Swamiji, what does the word Anvaya and Vratireka mean? Each word, what does it mean in itself?
Anvaya means to pervade, Vyatireka means to exclude.
Okay. Oh, thank you, sir.
In the, what is the word given in the translation? So, see, excluding everything is called Vyatireka, and affirming everything, meaning what pervades everything. So that is called Anvaya and Vyatireka.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So 4 of you who have volunteered, please discuss amongst yourself and come back. We will be celebrating the Janmashtami online. So let me know what you think and we'll have a discussion there. Yes, Anjali. You have to unmute. And I send the request. You have to unmute.
Yeah, Swamiji. Swamiji, I got a bit lost over there. So Narayan Bhagwan gave the knowledge to Brahmaji in the Chatushloki form.
Yeah.
And then Brahmaji expanded it and gave it to Narad Muni in the form that we are learning now.
Yeah.
And he passed it down thereon.
Yeah.
So initially it was just the 4 verses.
Yes, that time is 4. Chatushloki.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, Swamiji. Thank you.
Yeah, Aparna ji.
Swamiji, Aarti we don't have to do.
Will do.
Hmm.
Sonika ji.
Shakti Muni is the name of the Parashar. Last time you had said about that Shakti, na, so that is Shakti Muni only.
Shakti Muni only, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Hari Om Swamiji, I wanted you to repeat those 4 words of the Chatur Shloki Bhagavad, what they stand for, the 4 shloks.
First shloka is for Brahman. Second shloka is for Maya. Third is for creation. Fourth is for sadhana.
Okay, thank you, Swamiji.
बोलिए राधावर कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय। श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।